Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I am here today with a brand new book haul, and this book haul contains all the books, all the audiobooks, ebooks and review copies and birthday gifts and everything that I have received, bought and got as ALCs and got as review copies and all of that since the last book haul. So that's why the number of books in this video has gone up to 80 books. There are paperbacks, there are hardcovers, there are ebooks, there are audiobooks, and after a certain point I was like, I need to go on a book buying ban. And I did go on a book buying ban, and I asked a friend to keep me in line, but then again I found ways to circumvent that. So I don't know if I'm still on a book buying ban or if it's just gone out the window. But there are 80 books and it's going to take a while. Some of these I have read and I will direct you to the appropriate video if I've already spoken about it. And yeah, without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the books that I've got or bought in the past few months, since June, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so the first set of books that I will be talking about are audiobooks, and these are the Libro FM ALCs that I got in June 2021. And the first ALC that I will talk about is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one book that I really want to get to because Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it's her latest novel, and it's also about 4 celebrities, and I think it sets in with the theme of Taylor Jenkins Reid writing such stories, be it Daisy Jones and the Six or 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I am super excited to get to this. The second ALC is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Yeah, I've heard very mixed reviews of this book and I don't know what to think of it. I was not a fan of The Silent Patient. It was rather too contrived and it was too predictable for me, and I had read a very famous, well-loved book before, and The Silent Patient reminded me of that book. So I don't know, I'm very skeptical about this one, but I requested it as an ALC and I still haven't gotten around to reading it. Next up is Animal by Lisa Taddeo. It was, I think, in 2019 that I read 3 Women by the same author, and I was not a fan of that book and how the author had written that book. So this one, Animal, however, I've heard that it's also like, it's very difficult to like because the main character herself is an unlikable character. I'm not really sure on the specifics, but yeah, I do want to read this and I want to see if I want to read more Lisa Taddeo in the future. If this also doesn't work for me, then I'm giving that author up. Number 4 is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahira Mafi, and I had read A Very Large Expanse of Sea by the same author and I really enjoyed it. I liked the themes that the author brought into that story and how much humanity she brought to the 2 characters in there. So when I saw that this was up for me getting an ALC, I was like, yes, of course yes, a big yes. And this is the story of a Muslim family who are trying to get back on their feet after 9/11 and finding hope and finding love and finding that familial bonding. The 5th ALC is All the Lonely People by Mike Gale, and this is a story of an old man, I think, and it talks about loneliness and love and friendship and human connection, and that was what drew me to this book in the first place, and I was like, yes, I need this sounds amazing. Or it also sounds sort of like A Man Called Uwe, and like if anything reminds me of A Man Called Uwe, I'm going to go for it. A while ago, some of the books published by Westland Publications were available for free, and every single day of some month, I think it was June, every month there was one ebook that would be available for free. So I went and got Bombay Balchao by Jane Borges. This is a story of I think Goan Catholics living in Mumbai and their life. Apparently this is a short examination of the lives of these characters, and I'm all for it. The next set of books are review copies that were sent to me by publishers or authors or certain other websites that I am working for. The first book in this list is Turn a Blind Eye by Jeffrey Archer. This is the third in the William Warwick series, and I have the copy somewhere. I don't know where I've put it. Yeah, this is great. I've finished reading this book and it's great. It's so fast paced. Like, you know, I'm a huge fan of Jeffrey Archer and his twisty, snappy, pacey books, which I really enjoy. And in this, William Warwick is battling his inner self about whether or not to turn a blind eye to something that a colleague has done. Next up is another book that I have, but I can't find the copy of. But the book is Kunti by Koral Dasgupta. I really enjoyed reading this book, although I did feel that the narrative was a little dragged and over the top flowery, but then again, it really captured the essence of Kunti, who is the mother of the Pandavas and the essential matriarch in the strongest matriarch in the Mahabharata. So yeah, I did enjoy it, but there were certain caveats that came with it about to what extent I enjoyed it. Next up is a book that was sent to me by HarperCollins India, and that is COVID and Post-COVID Recovery, Dr. V's 6-Point Plan by Dr. Vishakha Shivdasani. In this book, the author, Dr. Vishakha Shivdasani, talks about how to be cautious, what precautions to take to not get COVID, and what to do once you get COVID and you are in recovery. And this is just a 56-page book, but I feel like it's very important, even though the tips and tricks that the author has put in here are very simple. They are easy to follow. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because this is a subject that I can't rate it any other way. Next up is another book that I received from Pan Macmillan India, but this is one that I have not read yet, and that is Invictus, The Jungle That Made Me by Nidhi Sharma. And this is a sort of adventurous book that the author went on, like Nidhi Sharma's experiences. And I think I'm going to do a sort of video where I try to finish off all the review copies that I have with me, and this will make it, like, this will probably be the first book that I read in that video. Next up is a book that I did not like, and that is Cognitive Fitness, Pain is Inevitable, How to Alleviate It and Use It to Your Advantage. And this is a book that starts off well, but then it moves forward and just plateaus. Like, it's the same thing that the author is saying. He just says you need to accept that pain is inevitable and we will see how to alleviate the pain. But he doesn't get to it. There's no solution in this book. And after a point, I just wanted to rip my hair out. If you've seen my tier ranking video, you know where this falls. Next up is a book that I've done a full video review for, and that book is Let Love Take Over by Thompson Robert. If you'd like to go check that out, link here as well as in the description box below. This is the story of finding your own self and finding a redemption and understanding when to stand up for the right thing. This was good. I liked it, but then I also had some problems with it, which I've also spoken about in that video. Next up is The Boatman of Murshidabad by Madhu Kailas, and this was a book that I was about. This is a poetry collection, and this was sent to me by Rupa Publications, and I wasn't a huge fan of this book because there's so much floweriness. It's not clear what the author tries to tell you. It's like he is channeling the you know, old white man poet, like all the dead poets of yore. It's like Next up is When the Wildflowers Bloom by Rupa Bhullar. This was also sent to me by Rupa Publications, and this is the story of domestic abuse and how the main character finds herself after she has emerged from that situation. And this is also something that comes across as very preachy. It was a good way to talk about how to, focus on oneself and how to see the signs and take that step forward. Next up is another book from Pan Macmillan India, and this was Vish Thamija's Prisoner's Dilemma, and this is great. Like, I really enjoyed reading this book. It's very fast, it's very snappy, and this is a story of two friends who are held in different interrogation rooms. They are held for murder, and the concept of Prisoner's Dilemma is that when two people are held in different rooms, they are convinced that the other has told the truth, and this person now is trying to find out or trying to gauge if that other person can actually say that and maybe be broken into actually admitting the truth. It's good. It's very fast paced, snappy. It's nice. I liked it. The next book was sent to me by Penguin India, and that is Saraswati's Gift by Kavita Kane, and I really liked reading this book. This is Kavita Kane brings to life the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, Saraswati, and how her role in the whole scheme of things pans out, and how her relationship with her creator and with the creator throughout, Brahma, Lord Brahma. It's very poetic, it's very lyrical, this writing. This is more of mythological fiction rather than mythological retelling. Next is another book that was sent to me by HarperCollins India, and that is The Right Sort of Girl by Anita Rani. And this is a memoir that talks about Anita Rani and how she was, she battled between fitting in wherever she went. Like at home, there's this very Indian mahal, and then outside she goes, there's this whole Britishness that's going about, and to have that sort of identity crisis while shuttling between the two places, I can totally understand how it would unnerve a person, but to see how she grew out of it or how she came to embrace it, that's something that I'm really looking forward to. Next is a book that I don't want to talk much about because it was so bad, but this was sent to me by Rupa Publications, and the book is called Mapping Love by Ashwini Iyer Tiwari, and this is about a woman who is in the United States of America, and while she's there, her mom passes away and she comes back very late, and now she's on this whole quest to find her missing father, and now she's going across North India and she's falling in love like this. The thing about this book is you don't know what's happening. It's that convoluted. Ashwini Iyer Tiwari unfortunately is not a good author. Sorry, but I had to say it. Oh, next up is a review copy that I got from Pan Macmillan India, and I was on the blog tour for. I've spoken more about this in my September 2021 wrap-up that went up very recently, like few days ago, and that is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. Again, heartwarming. It talks about life after death and life and death and life in death, and there's so much more that this talks about, and I absolutely love this, and it's funny, it's witty also, so that's there. It's not as good as The House in the Cerulean Sea for some reason, it felt to me, but it's good. Next is an arc that I got from NetGalley, and that is Dancing in Tata's Footsteps by Srividya Venkat, and this is such a cute little story about a boy who goes to a dance class where he is made fun of for wanting to learn dance, and then his tata starts dancing. He tells him about his own experience with dance and how this whole it explores toxic masculinity and this whole stereotypes that men shouldn't do this, women shouldn't do this, and all of this. It's like subverting all of them. Next up is another book that I received from Penguin India, and that is Recipes for Life by Sudha Menon. Another book that I have already spoken about. It's in my September 2021 wrap-up, and this has a collection of recipes and a collection of anecdotes, nostalgic anecdotes from Indian celebrities and Indian personalities in the public, and I really liked it. Like, I've marked a few of the recipes that I want to try because they look simple enough that I won't F them up or something. So yeah, this is something like a very nice nostalgic remembrance of Maa ke haath ka khana and about childhood trips and childhood remembrances of their relationships with food and everything. Next are a bunch of arcs that I got from NetGalley. I won't talk much about them because I also don't know much about a couple of these. But the first one is Oddball by Sarah Anderson. Again, September 2021 wrap up. Go and check that out. But Sarah Anderson is one of my favorites, and her comics are always relatable. And as an awkward introvert myself, as an oddball myself, I found Oddball amazing. Like, I loved it. Again, for that also full 5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I will give Sarah Anderson's book any other rating. Next is a book that I requested only for its title, and that title is A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons by Kate Khawari. I saw the title, I read the blurb, and then I forgot everything about the blurb because I was too taken in by the title. Let me just read it out for you. London 1923. Newly minted research assistant Saffron Everly attends a dinner party for the University College of London. While she expects to engage in conversations about the university's large expedition to the Amazon, she doesn't expect Mrs. Henry, one of the professor's wives, to drop to the floor, poisoned by an unknown toxin. Dr. Maxwell, Saffron's mentor, is the main suspect, having had an explosive argument with Dr. Henry a few days prior. As evidence mounts against Dr. Maxwell and the expedition's departure draws nearer, Saffron realizes if she wants her mentor's name cleared, she'll have to do it herself. Joined by enigmatic Alexander Ashton, a fellow researcher, Saffron uses her knowledge of botany as she explores steamy greenhouses, dark gardens, and deadly poisons. Will she be able to uncover the truth, or will her investigation land her on the murderer's list? Next is an Amanda Lovelace poetry book, which is called Flower Crowns and Fearsome Things, and I love Amanda Lovelace's poetry. I mean, I'm not like very Nikita Gill about it, but I really did enjoy reading her earlier books, and I really enjoyed them. So I'm really looking forward to this one as well. So yeah, I think this is also going to be one of those powerful kind of poetry collection. Next is called Monster Mind, Dealing with Anxiety and Self-Doubt by Alfonso Casas. And I don't think I have to say anything about this. It's sort of a graphic novel kind of. It's very short, this book. And I really wanted to read this because of what it talks about. Self-doubt, I mean, I'm 100% that person who... it's not... I don't indulge self-doubt, but it drowns me many a times. Let's see how it goes. Next is In the Watchful City by Kioi Liu, I think it's pronounced. I'm really sorry if I did not pronounce the name right. And I think this is something that talks about magical futurism and that centers Asian characters. What this cover reminded me of? This reminded me of N.K. Jemison's The City We Became. For some reason, did that pull me into requesting for it? I don't know. Next up is The Influencer, Speed Must Have a Limit by Abhay Dev, and this is a book that I will be doing a video review of very soon, in a couple of weeks at the maximum. So please keep an eye out for that. I think this is set in a sort of kind of dystopian world in which only few people have the power to control everything and all of that. That's what I gleaned from, that's what I remember from when I read the blurb. And I'm really excited to finish reading this book and put up that video review. Next up is Frank Carter, The Complete Saga by Yashesh Rathod. I'm reading this book right now and I will be doing a blog review for it. I think it went up today, on the day you're seeing this video. It's an interesting historical fiction adventure kind of story. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to finishing the book. The next set of books are books that I bought on my own, and I think we can start off with one of my most anticipated reads of 2021, and that is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boley. I have both the ALC as well as the paperback copy. I couldn't not buy it. Just look at that cover. I thought this was going to be a kind of a fantasy story about a girl who has to find out the truth about something, but then there's also the FBI involved apparently in this. But this is about saving community and doing the right thing and all of that. So I think I'm 100% in either way. Next up are two books that you've already seen me talk about. It was in the Partition Literature collaboration video that I made with Smriti, Shruti and Jyotsna, and the books are Ice Candyman by Bapsi Sidhwa, and Manto Selected Short Stories translated into English by Atish Tasir. And these two are amazing books. In short, this is about a Parsi girl and how her nature affects the people around her, especially during the time of a partition. And there's a lot of gore and violence in this book, so if you are if you are okay with that, only go ahead and read this book. If that's something that will trigger you, then go for this one, which I must say is a great translation. Manto, he explores a lot of themes in his books. Not all of the stories in this are partition related, but the way he explores themes including and not limited to mental health and partition and the people in general, they are amazing. So I would highly recommend you go for this one. If you are okay with gore and violence, then also go for this one. Like, it's a double whammy of sorts. Next up is Freedom at Midnight by Dominic Lapierre and Larry Collins. And this is, I think, talks about freedom at midnight when India attained independence. It talks about the birth of two nations, India and Pakistan, that happened at the midnight of 15th August 1947. And this was a book that I was supposed to have read for the Partition Literature collaboration, but that did not happen. I read another book instead, which I will also be talking about. But yeah, this is a book that I have heard mixed reviews about. Like, there are certain things about this book that are a little controversial, it seems, but okay. Next up is Remnants of a Separation by Aanchal Malhotra. This is the subscriber pick for the month of September. I still haven't finished reading this book, but I am about 110 pages in and I am feeling it all the emotions. Like, in this book, Aanchal Malhotra has interviewed people who came across or went across during the partition of India, who came to India or went to Pakistan, and through belongings that they brought or took there, she unearths all of these feelings that partition evokes. Like, there's so much blood, violence, gore that people had to see during that time, and through all of these belongings they relive those times and they talk about what all had happened and what all they had to go through in order to find a good life for themselves. Next up is a book that I got from a friend's unhaul on Instagram, and that is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyimide. I hope I pronounced their name right. But this is set in a high school in which there's power games going on. There's money, there's power, there's the background players, there's behind the scenes, so much more going on. And I've heard nothing but good things about this. Like, there are so many people on Instagram that I have seen raving about this book, and I have contemplated so many times putting down the books that I'm currently reading and just diving right into this. Next up is The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan K Mai. I've heard amazing things about this book, and this is set in Hanoi, 1972, where Huang and her grandmother, Tran Diu Lan, cling to one another in the improvised shelter as American bombs fall around them. For Tran Diu Lan, forced to flee the family farm with her 6 children decades earlier as the communist government rose to power in the north, this experience is horribly familiar. Seen through the eyes of these two unforgettable women, The Mountains Sing captures their defiance and determination, hope and unexpected joy. And this is a book that I really want to delve into, not just to learn about what America did wrong, but also about Vietnamese culture. Next up is Indian Summer by Alex von Tunzelman, The Secret History of the End of an Empire, and this was highly recommended. This comes highly recommended from Jyotsna from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and I have seen her talk so passionately about this book and about how this book talks about the truths about the Mountbattens, I think, and about how it reads like a thriller. This is a non-fiction book, but Jyotsna says this reads like a thriller, and I'm all for it. Next is What We Carry, a Memoir by Maya Shanbag Lang, and I remember seeing this on Kritika's profile. She had reviewed this book, Kritika from Ask the Book Bug on Instagram, and she had reviewed this book and spoken highly about it. I think this is about the author's more of a relationship with her mother than anything else, and she talks about how her mother is dealt with Alzheimer's in the United States when they had immigrated over there. And yeah, I think I will be reading this soon. I get really strong urges to pick this book up from time to time, but I never get around to doing it for some reason. That reason being I'm pretty always overwhelmed by my TBR, but yeah. So this is another that I added. Also, these 3 books I bought because of the Prime Day offers, and I consider these late birthday gifts to myself. Next up are 2 ebooks that I got at pretty cheap prices, and the first one is Coming Out as Dalit by Yashika Dutt. This is the story of Yashika Dutt's own life and about her experiences as a Dalit and how even to this day Dalits are looked down upon. I have had my eye on the ebook for a long time, and I finally got it, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The second ebook is one that I bought on a complete whim, and that was because one of my closest friends, Nandini from Read Dream Repeat on Instagram, she is a Sylvia Plath maha fan. Like the way I am with Matt Haig and Nikita Gill, she is for Sylvia Plath. And so I bought the collected poems, Sylvia Plath, the collected poems, and I tried to start reading them, but I was really sleepy that day, so I didn't get forward. But I haven't even told her that I bought this collection, which reminds me I have to tell her, and she's going to freak out. But yeah, I'm really interested in reading because I read the bell jar and I felt that pain emanating from the book, and I felt really seen in quite a few places, and I feel like these poems are also going to do that. Next up is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is a standalone fantasy book which I've had my eye on for the longest time. I have this gut feeling that I'm going to end up loving this book, so I was like, it's time you bought it soon, and I went and bought it. Let me read the blurb for you. Annalie lives a sheltered life at Highmore, a manor by the sea, with her sisters and their father and stepmother. Once there were 12, but loneliness fills the grand halls now that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short. Each death was more tragic than the last. The plague, a plummeting fall, a drowning, a slippery plunge, and there are whispers throughout the surrounding villages that the family is cursed by the gods. Disturbed by a series of ghostly visions, Annalie becomes increasingly suspicious that her sisters' deaths were no accidents. The girls have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in silk gowns and shimmering slippers, and Annalie isn't sure whether to try to stop them or to join their forbidden trysts, because who or what are they really dancing with? When Annalie's involvement with a mysterious stranger who has secrets of his own intensifies, it's a race to unravel the darkness that has fallen over her family before it claims her next. Next up is a new release. I mean, I don't remember when this released exactly, but this is a book that we've been excited to read, and it's you know, the next Bookbound Club pick. It will happen on the 30th of October. Yes, 30th of October on my channel right here. So please be there. And I am super excited to start reading this. And the book is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And science fiction, Andy Weir, even though I haven't read The Martian, I know and I've heard a lot of good things about his writing. So yeah, this is set in space, I think, and Project Hail Mary is a sort of last-ditch attempt or something. So let's see how it goes. I'm really excited to read this. I will also be doing a video review of this for my members, so I'm really excited for that as well. Next up is What's a Lemon Squeezer Doing in My Vagina by Rohini S. Rajagopal. This is a memoir of author and her husband's fight against infertility, and I've heard the most heart-wrenching things from a bookstagrammer friend, Shweta from Book Squeaks. If you don't follow her already, please go follow her. And she documented her experience of reading this book on her stories, which she always does, and I love watching her stories and reading her stories. And she was talking about this and how gut-wrenching it is, and I found this so intriguing as well. Next up is Train to India, Memories of Another Bengal by Malloy Krishnadhar, and this is another book that I read for the Partition Literature Collab, so I won't talk much about it, but this is the author's memoir about living in Bengal and going through the partition and how the partition affected common people, and this whole concept of politicians taking decisions that would affect common people but not taking common people into account. That's what this whole book is about. And there's also descriptions of communal violence, but also about how two communities or multiple communities stuck together despite all of whatever was going on. Like, we hardly see any partition literature or talks of how partition took place and what effects it had in the eastern side of the country, and this is an important book as well, and it was very informative. I would highly recommend it. Next up is another of my most anticipated reads of 2021, and that is Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez, and this is a book that I was not a huge fan of. Like, I enjoyed reading the wit and humor as well as the banter between the main characters, and as well as also the angsty romance between the two characters, but I was, on the whole, it was no happy ever after playlist. This talks about Vanessa and Adrian, who meet in their apartment complex. Adrian owns that apartment complex. He's technically her landlord, and how their connection builds, how their relationship builds, and what happens later. But the catch here is that Vanessa's mom and I think also older sister, they passed away due to ALS, and since ALS is hereditary, Vanessa thinks that she also has a great chance of getting ALS. She is always very cautious about a lot of things, and how this affects her relationship with Adrian forms the entire story. Like, and I've already spoken about what it made me feel. It was a little bit of a damn squib. Next up is a book that one of my subscribers, Neetu, has been recommending for a while, and I thought I would finally get it. I would finally try and see what it's about, because she has been speaking so highly about this book, and that is Gods and Ends by Lindsay Pereira. And let me read out the blurb for you so that you can be informed as well as I can inform myself once again. Okay, so Philomena Sekira knows what she wants by the time she turns 14. Her father wants something else. Life is unyielding for tenants of the rundown Obrigado mansion in Orlim, a Roman Catholic parish in suburban Bombay. They grapple with love, loss and sin, surrounded by abused wives and repressed widows, alcoholic husbands and dubious evangelists, angry teenagers and ambivalent priests. All struggling to make sense of circumstances they have no control over. Gods and Ends takes up multiple threads of individual stories to create a larger picture of darkness beneath a seemingly placid surface. It's about intersecting lives struggling to accept change as homes turn into prisons. This is a book about invisible people in a city of millions and the claustrophobia they rarely manage to escape from. Wow. Next up is What We Know About Her by Krupa Gay. I was getting this at a very cheap price, and I just slapped it up, and it's a hardcover at that. And this talks about girl and her relationship with her mother and her ancestral homes and her relationship with her relatives and all of that. At least that's what I can remember at the moment. But yeah, I've also seen that this has been shortlisted. Is it shortlisted? No, longlisted for the JCB prize. But I'm also a little scared to get into this because I've been seeing the people not liking this book, and I'm like, shit, what if I end up not liking it? But that's okay. If I end up not liking it, it'll be part of my next run haul. And then I bought this, a Penguin clothbound edition of War and Peace. Like, I remember saying in one of my haul videos that I will one day own all the Penguin clothbound editions that there are, and this seems like slowly that wish or that hope is coming to be true. This is it. This is one of my one of the books that I really want to read in 2021. Like, it was part of the 21 books I want to read in 2021, and although I won't be able to complete that list, I'm pretty confident that I won't complete it. This is something that I will definitely read, that we will definitely finish. I'm buddy reading this with Nandini from Read Dream Repeat, and yeah. Next up is an ebook that I got pretty recently. I got this new release for 29 rupees. So I had to like lap it up. The book is False Allies. The tagline, I need to see, 1 minute. India's Maharajas in the Age of Ravi Varma by Manu S. Pillai. I know that Manu S. Pillai is a renowned historian of sorts. I think I might be wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I know that I should probably read his earlier book, but this was something that, first of all, I couldn't pass up because of the price. And second of all, it's a new release. And third of all, it's Manu S. Pillai, who I heard nothing but good things about. Fingers crossed that this turns out to be a great one. Okay, so the next set of books are books that I received as birthday gifts from subscribers, from friends, from family, my husband mostly. The first of the birthday gifts to make their way to me was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and this was a birthday gift to me from Neetu, one of my subscribers. Thank you a lot, Neetu, for this book. I have heard amazing things about this book. Matt Haig has blurbed this. He's called this outstanding, and oh my god, yeah. That's it. I remember the TV show having Reese Witherspoon and who was it? I think it was Kerry Washington. And I remember snatches of it, but I want to go into it blind, but so that I will enjoy it more, because yeah, you know what happens. Next is a gift that I got from one of my closest friends that I've made on social media, on Bookstagram. That's from Chaitra, from Miss Bibliotaph on Instagram, and she gifted me this amazing graphic novel which I've already read and enjoyed, and that is Embroideries by Marjan Satrapi. And I absolutely love Marjan Satrapi and her very incisive, sarcastic way of talking about events that happen in her life, and this is no different. This shows Iranian women sitting in their house, including the author, her mother and her grandmother, and talking about their lives, their sex lives, their with politics as a backdrop, and how women were treated and all of that. There's a lot going on in here, and Marjan Satrapi deals with this phenomenally. And as much as her memoirs are great to read, they're also heartbreaking in a lot of ways, which you will know once you read her books. So please go ahead, read it, and thank you, Chatra, for this. Love you, you know that. Okay, next up are 11 books that I got from my husband for my birthday, and I'm like so happy. The first of these books was this, Heroes by Stephen Fry. This talks about mortals and monsters, quests and adventures, and about all the heroes in Greek mythology. Not the gods, but the heroes like Jason and Hercules and all of those. And I've always known that Stephen Fry is a great narrator as well as a good writer, but I don't know to what extent, because I've only heard him narrate some books, which I won't talk about those books. But I really want to read his writing, and what better to start off than to read about myths that you are vaguely familiar with. So, and the next 3 books were the 3 books in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I think this follows something on the lines of the earth being unstable, and it creates a rift, like the earth is literally breaking, quakes and rifts and everything is happening, and how this whole thing. I don't know much about it, but the reason why I've been after this trilogy was because I've heard amazing things about this trilogy, and I thought it was about time that we moved a little away from the usual suspects and got to these. Next is one of my most anticipated reads of the year from one of my favorite authors of all time, Matt Haig, and that is The Comfort Book. And this is honestly a comfort book. Like this has chapters which are unrelated. You can open to any page and start reading, but this is so beautifully written and so to the point and so warm, and also in some places very funny funnily true also. And we read this book and discussed it as part of the Drama Queenathon book club pick for the month of August, and we had a great discussion about it, and all of us felt the same thing, that it's like, it's very comforting. And if this is anything to go by, look at the number of tabs. And I know that I do this to every Matt Haig book, so it's nothing new per se, but yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it as proof that. Next is Second Place by Rachel Cusk. This one I put it on this list of books that I wanted for my birthday after seeing a quote from someone on Bookstagram. I don't remember who it was. I'm really sorry about that, but it resonated with me so much that I was like, I've got to read this book, and I was like, please get me this book, please. A woman invites a famed artist to the remote coastal landscape where she lives. Powerfully drawn to his paintings, she believes his vision may penetrate the mystery at the center of her life. But as a long dry summer sets in, his provocative presence soon twists the human patterns of a secluded household. Second Place is a fable of female fate and male privilege, and a story of unfathomable attractions. Modern and timeless, it reminds us of art's seduction and elemental power to both save and destroy. Next up is Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I've never read a Kazuo Ishiguro before, although I've heard great things about his writing. Like, I think The Remains of the Day remains one of his most famous books of all time, and this is set in a sort of dystopian world where you can choose friends, like I think in shops or something, and this is the story of Clara, who is one such friend who is waiting for someone to come and choose her. Sounds so grim, and that sounds so sad at the same time. Like, I know humanity isn't a great place or a great thing to be really proud of, but this sounds rather too sad. So I was like, okay, I need this book. Next up is a book that I asked to get after reading Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri, and I absolutely loved Whereabouts. After reading that, I was like, I need to read everything Jhumpa Lahiri has ever written. Namesake didn't do that for me. So I was like, I want this book. Since Whereabouts is also a translation, it was Jhumpa Lahiri actually wrote it in Italian and it was translated into English now. That came out in 2018. This came out in 2021. But so I want to read this. This is like, I think this is also a translation of originally written in Italian and translated into English by the author herself. On a post-college visit to Florence, Pulitzer Prize-winning author Jhumpa Lahiri fell in love with the Italian language. 20 years later, seeking total immersion, she and her family relocated to Rome, where she began to read and write solely in her adopted tongue. A startling act of self-reflection, in other words, is Lahiri's meditation on the process of learning to express herself in another language, and the stunning journey of a writer seeking a new voice. And now I want to know everything that Jhumpa Lahiri thinks and how she thinks and how she works around everything and all of that. So next up is another book that I've already read, and that is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. We read this in September as part of the Drama Queenathon book club pick, and we loved it. Like, this talks about two readers, Mukesh and Alicia, and how they form an unlikely book club, and the reasons for doing it are also like so different but also so heartwarming at the same time. So we were like, it's a book about books. It's about a book about a reading list, about a list of books that will help you, that you need to read. And what else can I say? Next up is a book by an author who I've never read before, but the book I was getting at a very cheap price. Like, usually it's about like 400, 500, but this I was getting it under 200. So I was like, the book I'm talking about is A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende. I think that's how her name is pronounced. But the author is one who I've heard so many good things about, that she is one of the most respected names in literature at this point in time, at least. And I was like, I want to get into this author's works. and I am super excited that I got this, and I don't know if this is a good place to start her works with. Let me read the blurb for you. Victor Dalmau is a young doctor when he is caught up in the Spanish Civil War, an event that leaves his life and the fate of his country forever changed. Together with his sister-in-law, the pianist Rosa, he is forced out of Barcelona and into exile in Chile. There they find themselves enmeshed in a rich web of characters who come together in love and tragedy over the course of 4 generations, destined to witness the battle between freedom and repression as it plays out across the world. Oh god. This sounds intense also. The last birthday gift from my husband was this one, which I will be reading this month, which is The Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Bourne. And this was recommended to me first of all by Sunshine from Kisakor and the Girl in Blue 11 on Instagram. This is sure to make me cry. This is about a woman who's like just been dumped or something, fresh out of a relationship, and she is retracing the places that she went to in her relationship. Then she cries. I think that's how it is. I'm super excited to read this. I feel really bad saying that because it makes me sound like a total madcap, that I would be excited to read something that's going to make me cry, a sort of a masochist if you will. But you know me, I love such books. So next are 3 books that I got from one of my favorite people on the whole planet, Nandini from Read Dream Repeat, and she sent me 3 books which are like, okay, the first one is Regarding the Pain of Others by Susan Sontag, and Susan Sontag has been one author that I have always wanted to try because I've heard such amazing things about her. And this book, we started it but we couldn't get through because a lot of other things came up as well. But this, what it talks about is it's war and it's casualties. Like, it doesn't regard pain as pain or people as people. There's a lot more to there are a lot more intricacies than we can see, and the lack of empathy and the lack of humanity in war and how it just moves forward. That's what this book is. And I will also be reading another Sontag with her, which is on photography. This had been on my wish list for ages, and she sent it to me for my birthday, and I'm super excited to read this as well. I will be reading both of these with her, that's for sure, along with War and Peace, which I've already spoken about. So yeah. The third book that she sent me, and this is something that proves over and over again that she is so thoughtful in the gifts that she gives, because this particular book is about writers and writing, and she has taken such, you know, care, and she thinks so much, and she gave me this for my art, as she puts it, and I'm so I can't even begin to express how much I love that woman. The book is Inside the Whale, on Writers and Writing by George Orwell. As you see, it's about writers and writing, and I'm thinking that there's going to be quite a bit of tips and tricks on how to handle writing in this one, so I'm super looking forward to reading this one as well. Look at this cutie. Okay, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the sections of this segment, but I somehow missed it. I was sent the new Stephen Fry book, Troy, by Sunshine from the Girl in Blue 11 on Instagram and from Kisakor on YouTube. And this is one of my most anticipated reads. I found out when, I think this was in June or July, that I found out that Stephen Fry's new book was coming, and she sent it to me. It's Stephen Fry, and I also have the, what do you say, the ALC, I think, and I'm going to pair it with this because Stephen Fry is such an awesome narrator. So next is a gift from Kritika from Ask the Book Bug on Instagram. I've already gushed about her in this video itself, and I love her recommendations to no end. I love her as a person also to no end. And she sent me Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. I don't exactly know what this is about. It looks like it's written in a screenplay format. So I'm really excited to start reading this. Let me see what it's about. Willis Wu mostly gets to play a generic Asian man. If he is lucky, sometimes he gets to be background oriental, making a weird face, or even disgraced son. Every day, Wu leaves the single room in Chinatown where he lives, and makes his way to the Golden Palace restaurant, the set of a cop show that is in perpetual production. For now, he is a bit player. His dream that one day he will be offered the most coveted role someone who looks like him might aspire to, Kung Fu guy. Inspired by his mother, who tells him to be more, Wu confronts the insidious power of stereotypes in this moving family story of a man learning how to become a son, brother, father, and partner in a world that treats him as very human. I'm going to read this soon. Like, TBR is like gone in the bhad. Okay, next up are two books that I received from a very dear friend, and she wishes to remain unnamed, so I'm not going to mention it. But the books she sent were The Authenticity Project by Claire Pulley and Eat the Buddha by Barbara Demick. And this is also a book that I have heard Sweta from Book Squeaks gush about. We met very recently and she was like, you have to read this book, please read this book, bump it up to your TBR, and I promised her I would, but then again my brain, you know my brain. Julian Jessop is tired of hiding the deep loneliness he feels, so he begins the Authenticity Project, a small green notebook containing the truth about his life. Leaving the notebook on a table in his friendly neighborhood cafe, Julian never expects Monica, the owner, to track him down after finding it, or that she'll be inspired to write down her own story. Little do they realize that such small acts of honesty hold the power to impact all those who discover the notebook and change their lives completely. This reminds me that Sweta was telling me about someone in India doing the same thing. Like someone called Bombay Bookstagram on Instagram. They did this exact same thing. They wrote down a story of sorts and they left it in different cities, if I'm not mistaken, and people have been finding it and people have been sharing stories, and it's one of the most warmest things that humanity has done that have found me recently, and I absolutely love it. Like it's so sweet, and now I can't wait to read this. And the second book that she sent to me, the friend that I've not named, is Eat the Buddha, and this is the story of modern Tibet through the people of one town. In 1950, China claimed sovereignty over Tibet, leading to decades of unrest and resistance that define the country today. In Eat the Buddha, Barbara Demick chronicles the Tibetan tragedy from Ngaba, a defiant town on the eastern edge of the Tibetan plateau, where dozens of Tibetans have shocked the world since 2009 by setting themselves on fire. Following the stories of the last princess of the region of Tibetans who experienced the struggle sessions of Mao's cultural revolution and of the recent generations of monks and townsfolk experiencing renewed repression, Demick paints a riveting portrait of recent Tibetan history and of the challenges Tibetans face today while locked in a struggle for identity against one of the most powerful countries in the world. Next up are three books that I read because I read a lot of Alice Oseman recently and I absolutely loved every single one of them. Like I read 4 volumes of Heartstopper, and then I read Loveless, which is one of my favorite books of the year, and then I was like, what if I go and buy all of Alice Oseman's works? I mean, I don't have all of their works right now, but I bought these. We read Radio Silence last year and really loved it, and then I Was Born for This, and then Nick and Charlie. Nick and Charlie I had to have because Heartstopper, Nick and Charlie, so I had to have. I Was Born for This is like, I don't really exactly know what it's about, but it's Alice Oseman, so I'm sure I'm going to love. Although maybe I shouldn't have so many expectations in the first place. But you know what? I really love these pastel books that she has. I got another book as a gift, Solitaire, as a gift from another Bookstagram friend last year. And yeah, I'm slowly on my way to completing the set of books in this format. Okay, I wrote War and Peace twice. Nice. Okay, so the next set of books are August 2021 Libro FM ALCs, but I don't know much about all of these. So I'm just going to mention them. If I know anything, then I'll talk about them. The first one is Assembly by Natasha Brown. No idea. A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. Paula Hawkins is the author who wrote The Girl on the Train, and I've heard very mixed reviews of The Girl on the Train, mostly bad reviews. And then Apples Never Fall by Liane Moriarty, another author I have not read, but she's on my TBR. And then there's The Last Nomad by Shugri Saeed Sal, which I read in July, I think, and I really loved. Like, it's the memoir of a Somalian nomad who takes us through her life as a nomad as well as post her life as a nomad. And it was really great. It's one of my favorite books of this year, and I really loved reading it. And then Savage Tongues by Azarine van der Vliet Olume. I have no idea what this is about. And then Strange Beasts of China by Yan Gay, translated by Jeremy Tiang. And then Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. This Sally Rooney book has been everywhere. Like, I've been seeing it everywhere, BookTube, Bookstagram. Everybody seems to be reading this. But Sally Rooney has always had very mixed reviews in the book world as such. But I've heard that this book is better than her earlier books, like Normal People and Conversations with Friends. So that I'm really excited about. And then the last book of this video is a free Libro FM ALC that I got for World Translation Day, and that was The German House by Annette Hess. It took me quite a bit to, choose between the options that were being given to me, but I finally ended up picking this one, The German House by Annette Hess, and I hope that I will end up liking it. So those and all the ebooks and the audiobooks that I got were all the books that I got since June, since the last book haul. They're totaling 80 in number, and I am like freaking out about how long this video is going to be. So yeah, those are all the books I had for you in today's book haul video. Which of these have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Which ones did you like? Which ones did you enjoy? Which ones are you adding to your TBR? Which ones are you adding to your wish list? Which ones are you buying? Comment down below and let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.